Cracker Barrel changed its logo. Backlash was swift, consumers complained, social media lit up, and then the brand doubled down. And then even President Trump weighed in. Soon after, the brand reversed course and went back to its old logo. Now, for marketers, this whole saga is more than just an interesting design debate. It's a case study in values, strategy, and decision-making in today's polarized marketplace. And it leaves us with 3 overlooked lessons that brand leaders should pay attention to. And the first one is all about how brand values drive consumer decisions. Cracker Barrel's attempts at a new logo was all about modernizing the brand while intending to stay true to its roots. The brand worked really hard to reassure consumers who did not like the new logo that its values had remained the same. But for many who spoke about their dislike for the change in the Cracker Barrel logo, it's simple for them that the brand was moving away from its core values and the meaning behind it. No matter how many times or how hard Cracker Barrel tried to reassure irate consumers that they were not changing their values and that they were not moving away from the things that consumers valued most, people who were upset just really couldn't get behind what Cracker Barrel was trying to do. Values hold a lot of meaning for consumers. One study showed that 82% of consumers want to buy from brands who share their values. That same study showed that a very large percentage of consumers have no problem walking away from a brand if they feel like their values do not align. Now consumers are starting to ask the question, what was the real reason that Cracker Barrel decided to reverse course after having already dug in their heels about the big change? And for those consumers who are asking that question, that raises a red flag and signals to them that there might be a values alignment. Since changing back to the old logo, Cracker Barrel has also removed diversity, equity, inclusion, employee resource groups, and pride pages from its website. Now, the lesson for marketers and business leaders is this: brand values matter now more than ever. Everything you do communicates your values. So make it clear what your values are and communicate regularly how you are living your values. And of course, don't be afraid to stand firm on your values and what you believe is right, even in the face of opposition. All right, so the second lesson from this whole saga is all about who drives the strategic direction of a brand. Since the spring of 2021, sales of Cracker Barrel have been in a steady decline. Share prices were significantly lower, and the brand needed to make some real changes to improve its financial standing and start to grow again. Now, those changes were underway, including a redesign of Cracker Barrel restaurants and stores and a new campaign with country music singer Jordan Davis. The logo change was just one part of a larger turnaround plan. And third quarter sales for their fiscal year showed that there was already a slight increase rather than a decrease, signaling that what they were doing was starting to work. So with all the backlash and focus on the new logo and even more people complaining about the new look of the stores, an important question pops up. What voices should drive strategic direction for a brand? Of course, brands should be embracing what their customers have to say. However, there isn't always alignment between what consumers are saying on social media and actual consumer behavior. Here's what Cracker Barrel CEO Julie Fels-Massino had to say about the feedback they were receiving about all the changes that they were making.
I gotta ask this question. I think I probably know the answer. What if all the customers are coming at you hard enough about the look of the restaurant and they want to go back to the old way? Would you do it?
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
In that same interview, the CEO also mentioned that much of the work that had been done was a direct result of both feedback and collaboration from both consumers and employees. Now, I personally believe that all the planning and strategy and research and feedback that went into designing this turnaround for Cracker Barrel was what caused the company to initially double down on their reasoning for maintaining the logo, while working to reassure consumers that all the things that they loved about Cracker Barrel were not changing. Like I mentioned, turning a business around does require listening to the voice of your customer. And it also requires looking at data, looking at your business holistically, market pressures, your resources, and other factors to help identify what the right approach to your turnaround should be. Now, it appears that the brand was working really hard to maintain control of its own narrative, as well as its own approach to turning the business around. All that appeared to change once politics got involved. President Trump made a post on Truth Social saying that Cracker Barrel should change the logo back and admit they were wrong. After deciding to change the logo back, someone in Trump's cabinet posted on X that leadership at Cracker Barrel had spoken with the administration. As the public, we don't know if that conversation weighed directly on Cracker Barrel's decision to go back to the old logo or not. But the post itself raises some questions. At what point are brand decisions based upon politics and the influence of leaders in the political realm? Again, politicians often don't have visibility into brands' financials, their strategy, customer insight work, or other data. Dr. Anastasia Gabriel is a culture expert and author of Cultural Intelligence for Marketers. Gabriel says that brands are descending deeper and deeper into a dangerous territory in its political climate in regards to the federal government, which exceeds online commentary from everyday consumers. With this in mind, businesses must think not only about balancing research with potential backlash, but also about how their values align or not with the political machinery of our time. Gabriel went on to add that brands have a choice to make about how they will run their businesses. She said the balance is no longer just about strategy, but about complicity, whether businesses accept their role as instruments of political power or stand against being co-opted into political agendas and continue making business decisions that are data-driven and commercially sound, regardless of politicized narratives attached to them. The lesson for marketers and business leaders is this: proactively decide how the political climate and political pressures will influence or not your business decisions. Politicians have their point of view, consumers have their point of view, and as a leader, be clear about what will and what will not influence your decisions about how to run your business. And the last lesson is all about market research versus social listening. Now, one of the ways that brands can minimize surprises about negative reactions in response to something that they produce is by involving the people that you want to serve in the planning and creation process. Now, another way to get a read on how consumers feel is to do some message testing with a representative sample of the consumers that you are trying to reach. Now, it appears that the Cracker Barrel team did all that, at least with their store redesign process. And yet still, they faced an onslaught of negative comments from consumers on social media. So should a brand ditch everything that they've heard in market research if what they hear on social media is vastly different and negative? Renita Bryant is the chief consultant at SiteSets Consulting, a market research consultancy. She said brands just may need to give it time. Bryant says brands should be evaluating what consumers are actually doing, such as whether or not they're still eating at Cracker Barrel or buying from their stores. Brands should take the time to evaluate if what is being said on social media is an actual reflection of their sales numbers and other metrics that they're tracking. The Bryant added, the research may actually be sound, but it may be that the biggest issue is that they're framing their market research effectiveness through the lens of social media. The lesson for marketers and brand leaders is this: decide in advance how to measure the effectiveness of a campaign and what the appropriate lenses are to evaluate feedback. Social media may or may not be a reflection of the opinions of the consumers the brands actually want to reach. If what the brand is doing isn't actually causing harm or isn't culturally appropriate in some way to specific communities, then taking the time to base your decisions on data is worthwhile. All right, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this whole Cracker Barrel logo saga? Let's discuss in the comments below. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves to have a place where they belong. Let's use our individual and collective power to ensure more people feel like they do. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you soon.